Hi, module number 1, how to beat out your competition. You know, competition is a funny thing. One business is a competitor of yours and another one isn't. So what makes the difference? For some of you, it's in your head. You say, oh my gosh, I know they're my competitor because one of my customers said they went there and they said they're cheaper than us and I lost a customer. Somewhere in your mind, you've decided that your competitor is better, smarter, or has more to offer than you. That's how you decide who your competitor is. But maybe they aren't really. Think about being a professional athlete. What do they worry about? They don't worry about their competition. They go and find out about them. They watch videos of them, they watch how they play, and they look at what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses. They think about getting better. What do? They say, those are their weaknesses, we're going to get better at that. They don't spend time saying, oh my goodness, how will we win the game? They go back and they figure out what are their competitors doing. So that's the first thing you have to do, is to figure out what are they doing. Now you can either shop them, buy from them, or have somebody else do that for you. But you have to get in there and have somebody you trust to tell you what's going on. You just have to make a list of the things you want to know. All right, so let's decide, who do you think are your top 3 or 4 competitors? It might be the dollar store if you're in the dollar store business. So you sell it for $1.50, the dollar store sells it for $1, and your customer says, I'm going there, and they buy from them, and you say, oh my God, I lost a customer. Well, wait a minute. Just because they're cheaper than you doesn't mean you even want that customer. Because the bottom line with somebody cheaper is that eventually you're all out of business. You see, the next thing is not everybody who comes in your door is your customer. The big part is to determine who do you want and then have a strategy to go after them. That's what that major league team would be doing. They determine again what makes that customer, what makes that team better than them, and they decide how to outdo them. And that's what you need to do. Not all customers have the same value. You must determine who are the customers you want and then have a plan to capture their heart. If you don't know, you're always going to be desperate, and then you'll drop your prices and you'll say, we didn't make enough money and we're out of business. So first of all, let's decide who your customers are. Customers who are valuable are ones that spend money, ones that come in often, and ones that give you referrals. Those are the customers you're after. So let's begin to look at who they are. And remember that having the lowest price does not mean you're going to win the game. It means eventually you will be out of business. So why are your competitors your competitors? We have to know what they do that makes them different and makes somebody want to buy from them instead of you. So before you can crush your competition, you have to determine why you think they are your competition and what they do better than you. So you have to come up with a list of things that you think would be important to your customer, right? So you have to know what is it that they're looking for when they go to both of your stores. Now, don't just listen to a customer who says, well, the reason I went there is because they were cheaper. That's what customers say all the time. If I tell you that they're cheaper across the street, I'm probably hoping that you're going to drop your price and run scared. Okay, here's some things you want to find out about your competitors. How do you do it? You either shop them, have somebody else shop them, or you figure out somehow you can get some real bona fide information. 1, do they have cheaper prices? For real? Or is that just a game? Are their salespeople smarter and nicer than you? Do they have better follow-up? How will you know? Let's buy a product. Let's bring it back. Let's break it. Let's do something with it so that they have to have a problem and they have to follow up. See how they do. Is their business more up to date than yours? Does it look better than your store? What about their social media experience? Have you checked it out online? Look at their Facebook page. Look at the number of friends and look at what they post. Do they have events that they post online? Are they doing something interesting with their customers? Think about JCPenney's having yoga in their stores. That's really different. Now, do they have the same products you have? Do they price them differently? Do they buy from the same manufacturers? Do they bundle them differently? And again, are their prices really cheaper than yours? Remember, if you win at the price game, eventually you're out of business. Now, after surveying hundreds of customers, I found that the customer isn't always after the cheapest price. And the fact that they tell you that the guy down the street has a cheaper price, they lie. They just want to find a way to get out of your store or to get you to cut your price. Let's look at a scenario or two. Marshalls and Macy's are great competitors, right? They share the same customer sometimes. Macy's has current styles, gets continuous stock, and is more expensive. Marshalls, on the other hand, has lots of what we call last season styles, not many of the same products, and are cheaper, but once they're gone, they're gone. Now let's look at the two stores. Macy's is relying on the fashion-conscious consumer who doesn't want last year's style. And also, they may need a special size, and they want it now, not next year. So Macy's has determined who is their customer. Fashion-conscious, with money, maybe needs a special style, and wants it now, not next year. Okay, let's look at what is your competitive advantage. That means what makes you different. Now, your competitive advantage is what makes customers choose you over your competitors. So let's make a list. Why do customers buy from us? What do they say about us? Do you hand out surveys and ask customers, why do you buy from us? What makes us different? That would be a good question to ask. You might also ask them, if we weren't here, who would you buy from? Now you'll know who they consider to be your competitor. Make a list. What are the things that you do that make you different than the guy down the street? Maybe you're like Lowe's, so what do? You deliver after 9 o'clock at night. Or maybe you deliver for free. What do you do that nobody else does? The other thing is, what do you need to do to be successful in the future? What is something you're thinking about that would be a great idea? It may be time to do it now. And the other thing is, a competitive advantage doesn't stay a competitive advantage forever unless you change it. Think about that for a second. If people gave warranties on their products for 1 year, and then somebody upped the warranty to 3 years, and then somebody new moved to town and made it 5 years, and then somebody moved it to lifetime, you see, you have to keep changing, because if it's really good what you do, then everybody else is going to do it. When everybody else does it and everything is the same, guess what wins? The lowest price. You must do things differently. I mean, take a look at your competitor. Maybe they're new in town and they stole all the things you did. So now it's time to change. When all things are equal, price becomes the factor and the competitive advantage. It won't last for long. And why would you want to be the cheapest guy? You're giving your profit to your customers. You're giving away everything. It's not doing things differently. It's doing different things. So it's not being open at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. It's having a yoga class in your store. That makes you different, and that's doing different things. Now, customers determine if what you do is different enough to provide value for them to buy from you. I remember when Lowe's first opened their stores across the street from Home Depot. Do you remember that? That was like, I think it was like in the 80s. Everyone thought, what are they, nuts? Why would you open right next door or across the street from your competitors? I mean, I thought they were crazy too. At that point, I knew some of the management at Lowe's, and I asked them, why are you opening up across the street from Home Depot? And this is what they told me. They said, listen, Home Depot's been around longer. They're more trusted than we are, and they have lots of customers. They also have more money than we do. And they spend a lot of money on advertising, so maybe we could get some of those customers. They knew they would. The only thing they needed to be clear on was what made them different from the depot. Remember, stores look alike. They're just boxes. That's all they are. And they have a lot of the same products. How did they win? How did they survive? And how did they thrive? Here's what they knew. They knew that the Home Depot was after the contractor, and they were after the female customer. To this day, they consider the female customer their competitive advantage. That's something for you to think about. Which one of those is our customer? How do we treat women? Do we treat them differently? Do we go after the contractor? What makes us different? They asked me, what should a salesperson be doing when they aren't talking to the customer? I thought they should be calling past customers and finding out if they were interested in coming in and see if they had anything they wanted to buy. They said no, they should be cleaning the store. I asked them why, and they said because women customers, they love clean stores. Case closed. I learned an amazing lesson from Lowe's. Now, they knew the difference. They knew things were different, man, woman, and they know what women wanted. So you must be specific. You must be able to see these things, and you must be able to count them. Because if you can't figure out what makes you different and it's not quantifiable, then you can't measure it, and you can't hold anybody accountable for it. You can't measure it, you can't change it. When Lowe's moved to Anchorage, Alaska, they took everything from their competitor and did them one better and maybe two better. Competitor opened up at 9 in the morning because it was dark during the winter. Lowe's opened at 7 or 6. The competitor had a policy. They delivered 5 days a week and never after 6 p.m. Lowe's said they were going to deliver 7 days a week until 9 p.m. and for free. Saying you give better customer service can't be measured. You have to define what is that customer service. Does it mean you're open till 10 o'clock? Does it mean that you're after the female customer? Does it mean that your stores are cleaner? You have to decide what makes you different. And then you must decide, does that difference matter to the customer? There's a beauty salon across the street from me, and they have an old dog that they bring to work, and everybody loves the dog, and they bring the dog crackers and everything. I go in to get a pedicure. They do a nice job, but as I'm walking out the store, I look down and I have dog hair hanging off my toes. I'm not going there again. Now you see, they think the dog is a competitive advantage because everybody loves him. He isn't for me because I'm not going again. You're not going either, particularly if you want a pedicure. So, who are your customers and what makes your customers want to buy from you? What are their common characteristics? In that case, it's dog hair on the toenail polishes. But listen, do they come from a socioeconomic group? Are the demographics that make them the same? What is it about them that makes them kind of fit together? Maybe they all live in the same neighborhood. Maybe their kids all go to the same school. Now, what can you learn from your competition? Don't be afraid of your competition. Decide what you can learn from them. What are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? Become stronger than them so that the customer knows that you're different. Having knowledge about your customer is very important. It's as important as knowing about your competitor. So gaining in-depth insights about your customer portfolio will allow you to maximize your revenue potential, increase customer retention, and boost prospective customers. How do you do that? You have a survey that you give out to the customer, and you ask the customer, what do you like about us? What do we do better than anybody else? If we weren't here, where would you go? The next question, what would you like us to do that would make us even more different? And listen to what your customer said. Don't ask the customer if you got there on time. Listen, if you didn't get to their house on time to do a job, trust me, they're not going to come back anyway. Go for what they want you to do and what would make you different. Now, again, are you on the cutting edge? What Home Depot does is they require that their managers be on Facebook 2 hours a day, posting about their customers and showing videos and talking to the customers. Listen, your competitors are not going to sit back and allow you to steal their market share. They're going to be watching you, and they're going to see what you're doing, and they're going to one-up you. When you see that, go out and do something different. You have to maintain your competitive advantage by predicting your future in your industry. Research, find out what products are new, find out what new things are going on, and write about it and put it on your social media. Now, sometimes you may need to take chances to keep ahead of the pack and differentiate your business. But with a risk often comes a big reward. Remember, don't do things differently, do different things. Knowledge is power, and what knowledge do you have that they don't? So to get ahead of the competition, you must have good word-of-mouth advertising. Remember, customers don't believe the advertising in the paper, they talk to each other. So what are you doing on social media to talk to the customers and find out what they think? Now it's time for you to go to work. In your workbook, you're going to answer questions about yourself and your competition. You're going to look at how do you shop your competition and find ways to figure out what makes you different and how you can crush the competitor.